Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second. It makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the YouTube algorithm, so it is much appreciated. It's hot takes, let's get into it. Joel Embiid was never a top 5 player in basketball. You know, going down the list, there's 3 players, probably, there's 4 players that I would say is like definitively better than Joel Embiid to me. And those players are Giannis, Steph, Jokic, and Luka. After that, honestly, after those 4, you could convince me of plenty of players being in that 5th spot. So for that reason, I'm not going to strongly agree with this, but I will say there have been a lot of people in the past few years, especially this last year, that did rank Joel Embiid higher than I would have. And this postseason doesn't change that for me. If anything, I feel like it changes things for me because more people are going to push in the opposite direction. But yeah, regular season wise, Joel Embiid was a top 5 player in the league. No freaking doubt. That's why he won MVP. But overall, actual basketball player, people who I trust in the postseason, I'm probably going to go Kevin Durant over Joel Embiid, which is saying a lot because there's the 2 players I'm accused most of being a hater for. And in the case of Kevin Durant, that's actually true. That's about where I would put him, like maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe 7, probably in that ballpark. But he's had a conversation for top 5, no doubt about it. Denver only looked so dominant because they got 4 favorable matchups. Quick, small point guards that are pull-up threats with rim pressure give Jokic trouble on D. Ja, Steph, Dame, Fox, Trey. Denver avoided them all 4 rounds. Definitely not saying they couldn't beat those teams, but it'd be tougher. This doesn't make any sense to me because the team that they beat in the conference finals, the Los Angeles Lakers, didn't have much issue dealing with the Warriors or Ja Morant on the Memphis Grizzlies. So that doesn't really make sense if you're telling me that the Nuggets stomped on the team that beat the teams that allegedly could have bothered Denver. Sure, maybe Denver would have done a worse-ish job defending them, but frankly, the Denver Nuggets defense was also excellent in this postseason, and I don't think that, strong creating guards is some huge hole that they had to worry about. Not to mention, obviously, they were not going to face De'Aaron Fox, and they were definitely not going to face Trae Young or Damian Lillard. So yeah, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Joel Embiid's playoffs weren't nearly as bad as people acted, and overall, he was about the 7th or 8th best player this playoffs. Yes, his game 7 was awful and inexcusable, but prior to that, he was just fine. Here's the thing, and I saw him arguing this in a later comment. Sure, was Joel Embiid like the 8th best player in this entire postseason? Maybe. But if your regular season averages drop by 10 points per game, which it did for Joel Embiid, if your true shooting percentage drops by 10% as well, which it did for Joel Embiid, you fucking sucked by your standard. Yeah, I didn't expect Joel Embiid to necessarily average 33 points per game in the playoffs. That was kind of a high bar. But if you're going to average less points, 10 less at that, at the very least, be equally as efficient or more efficient, but being much, much, much less efficient. Like, Joel Embiid deserves to get dogged on for that. He deserves to get a lot of people shitting on him. He deserves takes like people saying he was never top 5. It's just the way that this game works. If you dramatically underperform to your standard, you catch heat for it. That's how it works. Just because technically he was better than, Caleb Martin in the postseason. It's all about expectations versus what you actually go out and do there. And if you dramatically underperform your regular season standard, you're going to catch heat for it, deservingly so. Signing Jaylen Brown to a supermax is the worst thing the Celtics could do. This new CBA would close their championship window, assuming they do sign him. I absolutely agree. I don't necessarily know all the details about the new CBA, but signing Jaylen Brown to a supermax, sure. I do ultimately think that it is plausible to win a championship with Jaylen and Jason as your best duo. That said, that's not going to happen. If you need to break up that duo, well, you're shit out of luck because you're not going to be able to trade Jaylen Brown making $50-60 million a year. And if you do, you're going to trade it for a player who's worse and also making too much fucking money. So at the end of the day, it would be crippling financially and just not worth it for a duo that we've seen make the finals one time and consistently fall short otherwise. Yeah, making 5 conference finals in 7 years is cool, but it's not enough. And I think for the most part, I feel like the Celtics have hit their ceiling under what they currently have. So yeah, trade Jaylen Brown. Just do it. And if you're not going to trade him, then he should well understand you're not getting a supermax. He's not getting a supermax. It's just, do not give Jaylen Brown a supermax, man. I don't know other way to put it. Bam Adebayo is a better overall player than Anthony Davis. No. Okay, first of all, no. Let me just say that right out of the gate. But I do think it's perhaps marginally closer than some would think. The problem is, like, both AD and Bam Adebayo can be super inconsistent in terms of their scoring. Like, some nights Bam's going to get you 25, some nights he's going to get you 12. Some nights Anthony Davis is going to get you 30, some nights he's going to get you 18. Here's the thing, though. For every way that these guys kind of have some similarities, AD has that in common with Bam while being 10 to 20% better at all of those things. Like, sure, they're both defensive-oriented centers who can almost single-handedly make a defense great, and good rebounders, guys capable of being playmakers, putting the ball on the floor, being pretty fast for a big man, really athletic, and good finishers and mid-range shot creators that are, well, super inconsistent from mid-range. So there's actually a lot of parallels here, but like, AD is a better mid-range shooter, he's a better finisher, he's a better defender, he's a better rebounder. Sure, they have similarities, and Bam obviously got further in the playoffs, further in the playoffs, but AD's better. He is. But, you know, I think the take is a lot more reasonable than it was a couple of years ago, let's put it that way, than it would have been a couple of years ago. Nikola Jokic's rebounding was more shocking than his facilitating. I've seen him facilitate at a high level before, but the efficiency and pure ferocity at which he rebounded, especially in Miami, was shocking. I don't think many, if any, other players would do that today. I just don't think you watch that much Nikola Jokic if you were saying this, honestly. Like, I'm pretty sure he's averaged over 13 rebounds a game in a season before. Pretty sure he's averaged like over 11 this year. You know, a couple more rebounds is not that significant. And I said this before, he has a case for being the best rebounder in the league, unquestionably. And that's the thing that I think makes Jokic such an absurd freaking talent, is that the 3 main box score stats are points, rebounds, assists. And Jokic might be the best at all 3. And that's including scoring very much. I think somehow, even after all of this, still Jokic is an underrated scorer. And that's almost because he has that reputation as a playmaker. It's almost akin to like people acting like LeBron isn't a top 5 scorer of all time when he unequivocally is. Just because he has the reputation of being a pass first guy, allegedly, which isn't even freaking true. But, you know, a guy who's happy to make a pass and not a ball hog does not mean they're less of a scorer and less terrifying as a scoring threat. And Nikola Jokic is a ridiculous scorer. He also happens to be an excellent rebounder and an excellent playmaker, and there is no other player in league history that has an argument for being the best scorer, playmaker, and rebounder in the league, and he has that case. If Josh Hart did not injure Jimmy Butler's ankle, the Heat sweep the Celtics and beat the Nuggets in 7. Now, in a previous Hot Takes video, I complained about this type of take because of if a different thing happened, then a different thing would happen, because that's a stupid argument. But at least in the case of this one, this is a more reasonable what if than the ones in that video. And just to be worthy of note, some people are trying to like throw an asterisk at Denver because Jimmy Butler went into this with an ankle injury. Miami was screwed against Denver, even if Jimmy did play well. Even if Jimmy averaged 30 a game, they were not beating Denver. I am as confident in that as I could ever be. Just that's it. Anyways, shout out to Rudy for editing this video. That was Hot Takes, and goodbye.